Hi boys and girls, we're going to continue with our mystery, the Kidnapped King, but first let's review our eye patterns again, okay? Remember our short I, grip, bring, lip. That's the short I in all of them. Then we have three different ways that we're working on the long I sound this week. We have I consonant E, drive, price, bite. They all end in E, they all have I consonant E. I consonant E, I consonant E. The long I sound can be I consonant E. The pattern we worked with last week, IGH, fright, light, might. We have IGH in every single one of these words and it makes the long I sound. Then the new one that we added this week, I consonant consonant, mild, wild, child, okay? So again, short I and then three different ways to spell our long I sound. All right, let's look at our vocabulary words. Remember, kidnapping, yesterday we talked about it's a crime when someone takes you away against your will and they're normally trying to get a ransom, they're trying to get money for it. Then we have the word investigate. Okay, when you investigate, you are searching for answers to a crime or to a mystery. The investigation is the actual thing, it is the noun. The investigate is the verb, okay? So it's the act of doing the looking for the clues. So we're gonna watch as the officers and our friends investigate to try to find out more about Sammy's kidnapping. All right, we're gonna continue with The Kidnapped King by Ron Roy. Chapter 7. What kind of boat? Josh asked. The water in Indian River isn't very deep. But it's deep enough for a rowboat, Ruth Rose said. Dink thought about the river near Ron's bait shop. They all waded there before. The water was only up to their knees. Yeah, he said. Maybe they took Sammy downriver in a small boat. When they got to the deep part, they could have put him in a bigger boat and taken him out to sea, Ruth Rose added. The kids stared at each other. Dink thought about poor Sammy, afraid of noises and animals tied up in some boat. We have to do something, guys, he said. Let's go see if we can find more clues at the bait shop. He ran downstairs to the kitchen. Ruth Rose hurried after him with Josh and Hal right behind him. Your mom told us to stay put, Josh reminded Dink. I know, Josh, Dink was scribbling on a pad. I'm telling her where we're going, he said. We'll probably be back before she sees this. Come on. The kids cut through the dining room and headed for the back door. Suddenly, Pal barked and began straining on his leash. He pulled until Josh let him have his way. Pal headed for the living room and the kids followed. I think he smells something, Josh said. Pal had his nose on the rug, sniffing at something small and shiny. It's another piece of glass, Josh said, snatching it from the dog's nose. This is the third one, Dink said. He looked at the stairs going up to the bedrooms. Sammy dropped one in his room, one down here, and another one on the front steps. Sammy left us a trail, Ruth Rose suddenly yelled. I'll bet you're right, Dink said. The kidnappers must have brought him down the stairs and out the front door. Come on, let's look for more. And here's a picture of Pal finding one piece of glass. You can see he's pulling up the leash. He's straining hard. It's all Josh can do to hold him back. The kids hurried out the door and into the front yard. Pal sniffed with his nose along the ground while the kids searched with their eyes. Nothing, Dink muttered after a few minutes. The trail ends here. Suddenly, Pal yanked on the leash. Whoa, doggy, Josh said, but Pal kept pulling. He dragged Josh to the road. At the curb, Pal's nose went right into the gutter. Now, I can make a connection here. I know that sometimes dogs are used to help find people who are lost. They sniff the person's clothes and then they use their strong sense of smell to track the scent. I think that Pal is going to be a big help here as the kids try to follow the trail. Look, Josh said. He held up a fourth piece of yellow glass. Dink and Ruth Rose ran over. Sammy must have dropped it when the kidnappers loaded him into a car, Ruth Rose said. And I bet the trail picks up again down at the river, Dink said. Let's go. With Pal loping along behind them, that means running, the kids hurried down Woody Street. They cut past the elementary school, then they crossed Duck Walkway toward the river. Inside his shop, Ron Panowski was feeding the bait shiners on one of his huge tanks. Hey, I heard about the boy disappearing, Ron said when he saw the kids. He didn't disappear, Josh said. He was kidnapped. Ron nodded. That's what Officer Fallon said. And they stole one of my rowboats. Can you show us where the boat was, Dink asked. Sure, come on. Ron took the kids outside. Right over there, he said, pointing to a line of upside-down boats along the riverbank. There was an empty space between two of the boats. They broke my padlock and took a pair of my brand new oars, too. Thanks, Mr. P, Dink said. The kids hurried over to the row of boats and searched for the yellow glass. Pal sniffed around the ground for a few seconds, then flopped under a tree and closed his eyes. The kids examined the ground where the boat had been. They didn't find any glass at all. Let's look in the driveway, Dink suggested. They walked back to the road, then worked their way down the row of boats again. Josh found a nickel, but there wasn't a piece of yellow kaleidoscope glass anywhere. That's weird, said Dink. If Sammy left a trail back at my house, why didn't he drop another piece of glass here when he got here? Maybe he ran out of glass, Josh said. And here's a picture of them. They're talking to Mr. P, and then they're searching the row of boats. Okay. Ruth Rose shook her head. How could he? He took all the yellow glass, remember? You know, Dink said, something about the yellow glass is bugging me. Why did Sammy leave a yellow trail? Why not red or blue? Well, he had the colors in separate little piles, Josh said, so maybe he just grabbed the closest pile and it was yellow. Ron Panowski walked over. What are you kids looking for, he asked. Dink explained about the trail of yellow glass. You didn't see any, did you? Nope, just that tassel thing, and I gave it to Officer Fallon. Did you hear a car last night, Ruth Rose asked. Ron grinned. The way I snore, a tank could drive here, and I'd snooze right through it. Let's go back and see if my mom is home, Dink said. She might have found something out. Thanks, Mr. P. The kids and Pal hurried back to Dink's house. His mom was on the phone looking worried. She made a motion for the kids to sit. They did, with Pal at their feet. A minute later, Dink's mother hung up the phone. That was Officer Fallon, she said. The police are searching everywhere. They're checking the train station, the airport, every boat on the river. But so far, they aren't having any luck. Dink's mother looked at the kids with concern in her eyes. How could a boy just disappear without a trace, she asked. All right, and that brings us to the end of our chapter, but I want you to think about things. All right, so when the kids are sure that Sammy left them a trail, how do you think they feel? Well, they're excited, right? Because they're hopeful, because they want to investigate, they want to find their friend. And how does Pal help? Well, Pal's using his great sense of smell, right? So when they get to the boat place, what do you think it means that he just flops down by the tree? What's he not smelling? He's not smelling anything from Sammy, so it makes me wonder, there was a boat missing and the tassel from Sammy's slipper, but Pal doesn't seem to have smelled anything from Sammy actually there. Maybe that's a clue the author's trying to give us. And what does it mean when Dink's mother looked at the kids with concern in her eyes? It means she's really worried and she's scared, and so she's looking at them, and when you can see the concern, the care, the worry in her eyes. I'm sure you've all seen your parents look like that from time to time. All right, thanks for listening, and we'll tune in tomorrow for the next chapter of The Kidnapped King. Thanks for listening.